Okay, on to finding the volume of a cone, which actually is very similar. But again, that base is going to be what changes. So the volume of our cone is 1/3 that big B again, area of the base times the height. Now, the area of my base, since my base is a circle, is going to be pi r squared. And my height is still that length that's perpendicular to my base. So h is still our height. So let's find the volume of our cone, our first cone. We're looking for 1/3 area of the base times the height. So my base is a circle. So area of my base is pi r squared. So what's my radius? It's this guy, that 5. So 5 squared. So 25 pi. Then our height. That's our height. Unfortunately, we do not have that height. It's unknown. But we are working in a right triangle, so we can figure out that height by using the Pythagorean theorem. We've got h squared plus 5 squared equals 8 squared. So I'm going to go ahead and do 8 squared minus 5 squared. And we get h squared is 39. I'm not going to take the square root of it just yet. And when I do, I'm just going to leave it as the square root of 39. And I'll be able to then use it up here. So I've got my base, got my height. So it's 1/3 big B 25 pi rad 39. This is not pretty, but you can write it any way you'd like. Since we've got both a rad and a pi, I'd probably want to get round it to the nearest tenth. So I'd go 25 pi times rad 39 and then take 1/3 of that. So it's about 163.5 meters cubed. So unless it says leave it in terms of pi, I'd write it like this. If you were to leave that answer in terms of pi, I would leave it like in fractional answers as well. 25 pi over 3, and then rad 39. But again, this is definitely the preferred answer for something like this. So that question, we had to do everything because we also had to find our height. But for this next question, we are lucky enough that we are given the height. So we'll just get right into it. 1/3 area of our base times our height. So big B, we've got a circle, so it's pi r squared. So pi times the radius, 7 squared. So 49 pi. And our height, 13. I wanted to write 7 for some reason. Okay. So let's put it all together. 1/3, 49 pi times 13. And that is not, so I would just leave it as 637 divided by 3 pi. Let me rewrite that. Because if you want to leave it in terms of pi, you'd also want to leave that fraction there. And my units are inches cubed. So for this one, we want to leave it in terms of pi because it's a little nicer. And the last example, C, for finding the volume of my cone, I always want to check, okay, do I have that height? Do I have this guy coming here? And I do not. So what I'm actually given is the slant height. I'm going to be working in a right triangle to try and figure out what my height is. Let's find the area of the base first. So it's pi times the radius, 7.8 squared. So 60.84 pi. And once I start seeing decimals in the problem or in the answer, I'm probably going to have to round it to the nearest tenth just to make it a bit more convenient. And then the height. We are going to have to find that height. We can't just go right into it. We've got our right triangle, 7.8 at the bottom, 10 is the hypotenuse, height is what we're looking for. So it's h squared plus 7.8 squared equals 10 squared. So I'm going to go 100, which is 10 squared minus 60.84, since I know that that's 7.8 squared. So, and then I'll take the square root of that answer. And I've got about 6.226. I would keep this in the calculator until the very end. But if you round it now, your answer might be just a little different. It's not wrong, just our rounding was a little different. So it's 1/3, big B, so 60.84 pi times my height, 6.26. So let's put that all together. I have the 6.26 still in here, so then I'm going to go times 60.84 pi, 1/3. Approximate answer is 398.7 meters cubed. So look for the height if it's already given, that's great. Otherwise, you will have to use the Pythagorean theorem, just like you did when you were working the other way for surface area and finding that slant height. And that is that.